2, 1. Good afternoon, my friends. I'm talking with Jesse Landry. He is the owner of one of the most amazing apps that I've ever seen called Handiworks. And tell us what Handiworks is.
So Handiworks is kind of a open platform, on-demand home services that allows consumers to book services directly with, vetted, background check, insured professionals who are able to facilitate small repairs.
Excellent. So does that include emergency repairs?
So right now we don't have kind of an emergency button per se, but after you book a service, you're connected directly with whoever is close to you. And in most cases, it works out where you guys can communicate and, hey, can you come over right now? And it usually works out. But in the future, we're going to add an emergency option as well. But so we've kind of started the enrollment, and so we're still kind of in the process of rolling out. But once we get a little stronger and things get a little more steady, then we're gonna go forward with that.
So it's GPS powered. So when you say find a service provider near me, the app can tell me where that service provider is.
So we don't have that specific capability, but chances are, if you know somebody who does work through the app, there's a process where that service provider can link you directly to them, so that when you do book a request, your request goes directly to them. And now this process continues through the system. And so let's say that you find, Joe, who does a really good job, and you want to tell Susan about the app. You're actually referring Joe and not just the app itself. So when you share the app, you're actually sharing the provider that you work with, and not necessarily just the app. So it allows that kind of word of mouth to still happen. But in terms of the booking structure, it's based on closest proximity. So if somebody's in your zip code and you book a request, they're going to have access to that, and they're going to pick it up. And assuming that you don't have a service provider saved, then you kind of go into the general pool. And so if you do find somebody you like and you save them, then you do business with them directly all the time.
So you could have, there is the capability of having a preferred provider.
Correct. Yep. If you dig into the settings menu, there's something that says My Technician, and you can search and save anybody. And traditionally, with the consumers, and at least in the construction trades, is that when they actually find somebody who knows what's going on, they want to continue to work with that person, and they want to nurture that relationship, and vice versa, because it's just easier business, and the quality standard is, I guess, the biggest gamble, because you never know who's going to show up.
Right.
And the direct distinction with our app from what is currently available is that we're the only contractor-driven platform. And the other options that the consumers have right now are all tech companies who are just placing, random people. So we tend to find these users who have been burned on these other apps, and then they find us, and they're like, oh, this makes sense. Okay, great. And I won't mention them because I don't want to get any weird lawsuits, but there's been quite a bit of that. And the process is so simple on both sides. And the fact that the app takes all of the guesswork out of the entire process, it's that this app tends to share itself, tends to promote itself. Once somebody uses it, they're like, oh, this is great, and they tell everybody. And and just like with you, the curiosity starts, and then you start to look into it, and you're like, oh, this is actually really cool. And that's kind of been the behavior of people who use it. So
yeah, that's why I reached out to you, because I really felt that I'm fascinated by Uber. I'm fascinated by Uber Eats. I'm fascinated by a hair and barber app that I'm part of. I'm a provider. Mm-hmm. And if somebody in the area wants a haircut in their home, they go online and they can pick me. And as soon as they pick me, I have to be there within a certain amount of time. That's the agreement. And no cash is exchanged. Everything is done on my phone. Yep. Which I think is kind of cool. So Jesse, let me ask you this about Handiworks. How does a contractor, for instance, I have a brother who's a licensed contractor, if he's interested in becoming a provider with Handiworks, what does he have to do? And tell me the process. What do you do with him?
Yeah, so the entire process is automated. When you download the app, there's a footer where you can sign up as a provider, but you hit a wall. And so in order to get past that wall, you have to go through our vetting process, which you have to submit your insurance documents. You have to sign an agreement form saying, if you are, liable for any misconduct or any scamming or anything, we'll deplatform you. And, just kind of general legal agreement type of stuff, but just to ensure that everybody's kind of in the right mindset, and this isn't about I guess some golden opportunity where they're just gonna fly by night. It's not really like that. But so after you submit your insurance and after you sign the waiver, you get a credentials to the app, and then you get into it, and then there's a feature where we have integrated via API. Do you know what that means? API. Yeah. So API means like you have one system that communicates with your system. And so our background check company, so you never leave the app, but you submit your info, and then we run your background on a federal level, on a state level. We ensure that you have no fraud, you don't have any violent crimes, things like that. And then once you pass that, then your system is open. So because there's kind of two ways of it to work. If you are a contractor, you can sign up, you can get involved, you can start using the app, but you can use it exclusively with your own clients. Now, if you want to access the general public, then you have to invoke that background check. Okay. And so you can kind of use it that same way. So we're trying not to get in the way of like regular business, but we also want to ensure that before we let you loose on the public that we've made sure we did our homework. But anyway. After you get kind of in the app, me and that service provider, we go through a test request together, and I explain the entire functionality of the app, the ins, the outs, how to, navigate situations. And it's usually a Q&A that takes about an hour, but I do every one of these, myself, and I take the opportunity to kind of pick, the person apart and ask some questions. What's your skills? How long you've been doing this? Just kind of general things that lead me to believe like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. And so far we've been lucky enough to have all 5-star reviews on everything we've done across the country. And so we got activity in Indiana, Pennsylvania right now. It's pretty heavy out there. We've been having kind of a higher influx of stuff in Chicago. We've had requests in places like Indiana, and Ohio, and just kind of random places of the country, and so much so that our customer base has grown faster than our contractor base. So we had to put kind of a check stop in place to where if you're booking from an area where we don't provide service yet, then it doesn't allow you to continue to book. So, but people have been signing up every day, and we've been going through it. So things are expanding pretty quickly. So I assume that by the end of the year, we'll probably be in most markets.
Yeah. But let me ask you this. What is the smallest job that Handiworks would do? Because I'm thinking, like in my rec room, I had some new wiring put in. They had to take a Sawzall and cut out part of the ceiling and put in wiring and so forth. Mm-hmm. Go into the breaker box. And they pretty much just screwed some drywall up there. It needs to be spackled, sanded. The whole room needs to be painted. So fairly small job. And then I've got like a deck that's 20 years old. It's got nails popping out of it and splinters. And I want to get Trex put in. So that's like kind of a bigger job. What is the smallest jobs? What are the biggest jobs that you do?
Yeah. So what we're trying to navigate with the system is anything that would take less than a day to repair. So I myself personally have been on job requests where it's been a light switch needs to be replaced, or one time I fixed a lady's fan in her bathroom. The vent fan was making noise, and I took it out, cleaned it, oiled it, put it back together. I think it took me maybe 10 minutes. And so really, the smaller stuff is preferred, right? But something bigger like your deck, for example, one of the things that we've found in terms of the consumer behavior is that they're a little skeptical to sign up on an hourly rate when they don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
So what you can do is you can book a request, right? You can have the contractor come out, you can meet with them, they can give you an estimate, and then you can take it offline. So instead of doing it via the app, through the service, you can still get professional help, and you can, summons the technician, get the estimate, and then you can do it at a fixed bid if you're more comfortable doing that. But in terms of the smaller stuff, when you're kind of in and out or it's only a couple hours, it's more cost effective to do it that way from the consumer standpoint than to be getting a bid just for something small.
Yeah.
And one of the kind of the kickbacks is that from the contractor perspective, what happens a lot with our trade is that people want estimates. They want you to come out and give them an estimate, and then you never hear from them again.
Right.
And so you get a lot of kind of price shopping that happens. And so in order just to take these little things and mainline it right to the finish line, it makes life easier for everybody.
Yeah, I think one of my brother's biggest complaints is the price shoppers, because he spends, I think, Sundays doing estimates.
Yeah.
And he can tell right away someone who's just price shopping. And
Mm-hmm.
he's high end. He will not cheap out. And he just has like a sixth sense for people who are price shopping. So this eliminates that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for the consumer, it also keeps the contractor at a fixed price. So, if you were to hire somebody over to come and do your drywall, and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, we found a carpet in your attic, and we need to take it out," and they try to upsell you, which happens a lot. They don't have that capacity. So, our app is not built to navigate those problems, and
Yeah.
there's no way that they can charge you extra
Yeah.
for anything that you didn't order. And also on the back end of the system, we have full oversight of the transaction. So if push did come to shove and there was some sort of disagreement, we can go back and we can see the transaction history, we can see the text messages, because once your request is picked up, we have a text feature in the app where you can send text messages with the provider back and forth. But we have full overview of all of that. So any sort of discrepancy that pops up, we go through them one by one, and we make sure that everything is flattened out before it leads into a can of worms.
Yeah.
So
Tell me the process. You download the app on a phone.
Yep.
How do you just go to like the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, whatever they call that, and download it to your phone?
Yep.
How does it get personalized from there?
So there's a few different ways, and so you could go to the store, and I'll give you the smart link that I have, where whoever clicks on it from whatever device they're on, it'll navigate them automatically. But we are available for both Apple and Android devices. So whatever app store you have, if you go there and you search for Handiworks, which is Handiwerx, you download the app. It's free. You set it up. You can personalize the app, so you can put your picture on there, your profile. You can. We have something called a home profile, which allows consumers to kind of manage their home and all the details. So one of the things that we found that was lacking is like, for appliances. If you buy appliances, how do you manage your warranty detail? Now you can do all that on the app. It's absolutely free.
Yeah.
If you have rental properties, if you're a landlord, we have a process in our app where you can switch out your tenants on, just the drop of a button. And also, if you're like a professional landlord, you can issue what's called a service code, give that code to your tenant. The tenant can make the request on their own time, with their own schedule, with their own details, and you just accept or reject, and that's it. So as a landlord, it frees you from having to negotiate that three-way sort of repair process where, when's the handyman available, when's the tenant available, and when can I do it? And, so it allows the tenant just to book it, but you get pinged first.
Nice.
But in terms of the charge, it comes back to you, the person who issued the code.
Yeah.
And all this is free. So you can do all this for free. And the only time that you're charged for anything on the app is if you're actually ordering a service. So, we have a lot of different landlord types who use the app. There's a lot of attorneys that I've found in the system. It's just a whole gambit of people, older people. And one of the one of the kind of requests that I had when we initially started doing this in 2017 was that I wanted it simple enough for somebody who knows nothing about technology to use. And we used my mom as the case study because before this app came out, she never owned a cell phone. So, and she was able to do it, navigate it, and put a request in and figured it out.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What is the future of Handiworks? What do you see happening in the next couple of years with this app? I mean, I'm already blown away by the features and the benefits of it all.
Yeah.
Where is this going? I mean, is this going to lead to, I don't know, like landscaping and, you know, emergency work or?
Yeah, we have some different areas that we're already mapping out. So like home inspections for real estate transactions.
Oh,
we're going to get into
nice.
those. We've already got the framework built. We're trying to build on the small job aspect first.
Yeah.
But we also have a feature where you can sell us your house if you have kind of a fixer upper. A lot of people want to do flips, and a lot of people in our network are, they're often looking for those opportunities. And so we're kind of playing matchmaker.
Nice.
We also have a program with realtors where if you go to handiworks.com/realtors, sorry, you can add your information for free as a realtor. So when a customer, scrolls through the Rolodex, they can say, oh, they're right here in my town, boom, and they can hire them to sell their house or do whatever. But I think in the future, what we're going to continue to expand on the home services aspect, but we're also going to try to make sure that we're doing, I guess, our part to have a professional structure in place so that customers aren't getting burned. But we also want to make sure that our process is simple, fair, and easy enough to understand so that you know what you're getting into in advance. A lot of times with construction projects, there's change orders and there's crazy things, and I don't know if the software program will ever be able to handle like a kitchen remodel because there's so many moving parts. But there's still a lot of gray areas, and there's still a lot of components of the building trade that need to be simplified. And our app is kind of geared for really anybody in real estate, no matter what you're doing. If you're a realtor, a renter, a landlord, a service provider, just a general consumer, there's a little something in there for everybody.
I like that. What about if people have, for instance, I have a lot of friends that have vacation homes, and they need something done at the vacation home, but they don't, they travel 2 hours to get to a house at the Jersey Shore or up in the mountains in Pennsylvania. They don't want to have to drive 2 hours and start vetting contractors.
Yeah.
Would it be useful for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, and this is kind of a crazy story that's happening like right now. So here where I am in downtown Minneapolis, I have a guy who found the app. He's been using the app. He sold his condo, or he started renting his condo, and he was on vacation when this virus hit, and now he's stuck in Thailand and he can't come back. And so me and him, we've been communicating about repairs, but he was able to book a repair, pay to get his garbage disposal replaced. He gave me the lockbox information and everything right on the app. From great. Thailand. And I'm, I'm 4 blocks away from his house, but he's across the sea. And so that's the power of the software, is that it allows you to kind of go hands-free, essentially. And especially if you're a landlord, because one of the major pain points is like trying to figure out, like, how do you get the tenant and the provider schedule on par in order to get this thing done for your asset? And so for our process, it allows the landlord to sidestep that and just, here, you do it, and the tenant does it. They approve it, and then we service it. And, the tenant makes the request, the landlord covers the charge, and everybody's happy.
This definitely sounds easier than ordering a pizza.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And like I said, it's, I think roughly from start to finish, after you get your profile set up, you can book a service in 30 seconds.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Let me ask you this. From a, how about someone who owns multiple properties and they work a full-time job? and they don't have time to run around, and they're working a full-time job, and they're also property manager at like 12 different properties, and they don't want that busy work that property managers have to do.
Yeah. So the software does that for them. If they go through and take the time to put in each property that they own, so you can have an unlimited amount of properties. You can have 1,000 properties if you got them, and you can have 1,000 units per property if you want to. But then you go by and you put in your tenants, and then you can issue as many service codes as you want from the app. And so let's say in the case that you had 10 properties, right? You could issue 10 different service codes and give one to each building, and you can track them that way. Let's say a tenant moves out that has a service code, you can just delete the code and create a new one. That way it's not valid anymore for a charge. And let's say that you're a high volume user and you have a high density of requests usually. We also have a profile discount program where if you're doing a large number of repairs, we'll put a 15% to 10% discount to your profile, so that whether it's you or your tenants or anybody, you're getting a discount at every request. So we have things in place for that, but specifically the app is designed to free up the landlord or the professional landlord from having to do a lot of the maintenance work. And I think another important thing to mention is that the service providers, we also have a process in the app that kind of vets them publicly too. So if you leave a review that's a bad review for a service provider and they fall below a 3-point rating, and then that pops up on our radar, and then we go through and make sure that is this accurate, and if this is a bad seed, we take them out. So there's kind of a quality control that happens both by our standard, but also by the general public standard. And if you do have a saved provider, you can change them in a matter of seconds. So if you find somebody else who's talented and you don't want to work with this guy anymore, you can just nix him. No harm, no foul.
Wow.
So
I'm really fascinated by this because of the properties that I deal with, and honestly, and I still work. I still have a job. And the last thing I need is to have to deal with these things while I'm working my job.
Yeah, well, and I think one of the things that I might have brushed over too is that when you make a request, you have to give us a photo or a video or a combination of both of the repair. Now, in the event that you're not home or you can't make it, you give us a lockbox code. Whoever goes and performs the service, you're able to view their GPS location in real time while they're on the job. But also, when they punch out, they have to upload a video or a photo or a combination of both in order to satisfy the system requirements. So if you're, in the middle of a haircut and you get a ping on your phone and you're like, oh, this doesn't look acceptable by the photo, you're able to get in on that right away. Now, one of the other features that's built into the app is that there's a 2-day or 48-hour callback window. So if something doesn't meet your standard, or if something just ain't right, or maybe there's a leak that came up, or whatever the situation is, you have a 48-hour window to call back on that repair, at zero cost. So there is kind of a protocol in place where you have to ensure that you're doing the customer's work, and you're not going to just leave them hanging. So if it does end up in a fixing sort of scenario, the customer's not charged anything. So, and we don't even have that capacity in the app. It's not even built to charge you anything. So that includes materials as well. So if somebody messes up, it's on them. They're eating it. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've got 2 elderly parents, and I don't trust them to have an app on their phone. I just don't. Can I, if my mom tells me that, let's say, our garbage disposal broke, we need a new one, can I, as their adult child, use the app to order that repair or that new installation from my phone, even though, okay.
Yeah, so you can add as many properties as you want. and even if it's your your girlfriends or your parents or your sons or whoever,
Yeah.
if you have that property listed, when you go through the booking process, you'll actually have to select which address you want the service at. And you can put in the details, hey, this is from my mom. Make sure you say, you're from Handiworks and tell them that George sent you, or, however you word it, that's kind of up to you.
Yeah.
But you definitely have the capacity to order service, wherever you want to. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want 3 or 4 contractors coming to my mom's house and pulling the wool over her eyes, or, you know what I mean? I just want I want to be confident in the technology that what I order, she gets. It's all visible, documented. There's a technology trail. That's
Yep.
what I want.
Yeah, so we have all of that, and like I was saying too, is that there's a 48-hour callback window. So if you find something's amiss and you try to make good on it, we still have that payment in our system, so we can reverse the charge if it comes to it. Now we don't obviously want to do that because that's bad business, and we want the contractor to do a good job the first time. And luckily we haven't had any issues so far. But as things expand, I don't know if we're going to be able to hold that mentality. I mean, I sure do hope so, and let's fingers crossed. But
yeah,
it's just it gets to be a lot. But so the contractor isn't paid for that 48 hours while you still have that callback. So your money is still with us. And so because we take in the request, we process the request, and we do everything kind of in-house, the service provider is not kind of awarded until the job time is closed out.
yes.
And we've also had issues where there's been somebody who's called back. Well, actually, let me give you specifics. So one time I changed out a faucet cartridge for a lady who wasn't getting any hot water, and the temperature dial wasn't set correctly. And when she went to go use the shower during the cold months, she was like, "Hey, my hot water's not working." And so I ended up intercepting, and I went over there and serviced it for free, didn't charge her anything. And this was a few months down the road. And so we keep a close oversight of what's going on in terms of the activity in the system, and we're not kind of built like a for-profit Uber type of like we need your capital right away because we have investors to satisfy. And as a matter of fact, I'm the sole owner. I don't have any investors. This is all just totally out of my own doing. But we're trying to be in a position where we get back to older values, and it's more about customer service and less about hey, give us your money. So we're trying to get back to that.
I love that. Can I see a profile of a contractor before they come to my house? Like when I order an Uber ride, I can see that Steve is coming. He'll be at my house in 5 minutes. And there's a picture of Steve. Is that function available?
Yeah. And so going back to one of your questions about your brother-in-law getting involved, or maybe it was your brother, either way, but when you go through the enrollment process in our system, what ends up happening once you're approved and you're on the platform is that a flag pops up on handiworks.com. And so we have a service map. And if you hover over the flags on the map, you'll see the photos of the people who are in the area.
Nice.
And so like if you hover over the Minneapolis area, you'll see a picture of me because I'm also a provider on the app. But anybody who goes through the process, so whether it's their themselves or their logo or whatever, but then if you go into the setting menu and you save somebody, you have full access to that provider as well. So you have a phone number, an email, all the contact. So it's a pretty open book. I know that other options are really more constricted to where they try to separate the customer from the provider and just extract the money out of the middle. And for us, it's more of a shared network of professionals who are all kind of operating around this consensus, sort of like a franchise, but there's no fee to get involved, just as long as you have skills and you have your own tools and you're professional and you meet our requirements, then you're welcome to join us. So that's kind of our take on it. But in terms of the customer, so we try to do our best to make sure that we're placing the absolute most talented people we can from our own contractor perspectives, as opposed to just whoever's available. Like, hey, get over there and do that. So
Yeah.
we don't want to just send random people to do random things. And one of the other things I think is worth mentioning too is that with the other apps that are available, you can hire somebody to walk your dog, you can hire a florist, you can hire a mortician, you can hire all these different services. And one of the questions that I come up with most is how do these companies vet all of these different industries? Like from the consumer standpoint, how do you know that like these people are doing the due diligence to know that, like, okay, this person really knows their flowers? How do you manage all of that? And so one of the things with our app is that we only deal with home related issues. So we're not going to come walk your dog. We're not going to stand in a concert line for you. We don't have any of that. We will pick your materials up from the Home Depot,
Yeah.
but we won't just do odd, random grocery shopping for you or none of that. So
Yeah.
specifically for home repairs.
All right. So I'm a homeowner. I download the app. I put one of my cards on the app, and then the payment comes out of my cards. If I'm a contractor, how do I get paid?
So everything, like I said, is automated, and we use the same payment processor as the bigger companies like Uber and DoorDash and all these companies. They use a company called Stripe, which is managed by Wells Fargo, but they are probably the biggest platform for like digital payments. So places like Square, are you familiar with that?
Yes.
So Stripe is just like that, and they facilitate digital payments, and all of their standards are done in accordance with federal banking rules. But anyway, if you go out and do service work, our system automatically sends to your payment account your earnings in 3 business days. And as I said, with that 2-day window, that gives us that leeway time to get in the middle of the transaction if we have to. But also, we as the provider, we do not have access to the payment accounts. So everything that's done in terms of the money is done through Stripe, which is a really, really big company. And they have all the security and they have everything that you would want, to keep your payments safe. But from our perspective, Stripe is sort of an independent entity in the app that facilitates the transactions. And so we don't physically have access to payment accounts or credit card information. We can't charge you extras. We can't do anything card related or even account related without serious intervention. And one of the people who signed up on the app actually before a service provider, we were trying to troubleshoot one of his issues with Stripe, and I got on the phone with them and they put the brakes on me because it's not my account. So I had to give that person the service number, and they had to call and work out the problem on their own. And so that I guess I tell that to a lot of the service providers as well, because you want to make sure that your payments are timely and you want to make sure that they're secure, and you really don't want nobody taken out of your cookie jar. And because we don't even have that capacity, by design, really, so that you get that peace of mind that comes from not having to, I guess, fight with these other sort of sketchy companies who are doing these sort of transactions like this. So.
Wow. All right. So I go to one of the app stores. I download the app.
Yep.
And then what happens from there? Is it also? Do I also give an email? Do I have a confirmation email, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So if you were to book a request, well, let me back up a little bit. If you just go to download the app, you have to verify that your phone number is accurate, and we send you a unique one-time password. So that verifies that you're a real person.
Yeah.
And that weeds out all the spam users. And then once you get into the app, you can set up, your profile, you can set up your address, you can set up all your auxiliary properties, you can set up your tenants, you can create service codes, you can build out your home profile and manage all your details. And you can, go in the settings menu and save a provider. If you know somebody already, you can use the share feature, or the refer feature rather, which allows you to, tell everybody else to use the app. And that feature specifically will generate a link, a smart link, that when downloaded from that app, your settings come as their settings. So as I mentioned before, is that if you find somebody you like and you share the app, you're actually referring that person directly and not necessarily just the app. So you're referring that person who's on the app, and you're not just referring people directly to this random app. So it gives you a little more quality control. If you had good results and you want somebody else to have good results, you can still, have that relationship where, it works, but in a digital process. Now, if you were to book a request, you go through the booking process. So there's a feature that says book a service. And we also have subscription services too. They're not so popular yet, but it's kind of just a punch list of, common items where we come out every 6 months or 3 months or even monthly if you want. And we'll just automatically do a list of, change furnace filters, empty your water heater, just maintenance things. But if you were to book a request, once you submit a request, you'll get a confirmation email saying that we got your request. Once it's accepted, you'll get a confirmation email saying, XYZ picked up your job. And then also in the app, the chat feature opens. So you can text directly with that provider and you can say, hey, I booked for tomorrow, but is there any way you can make it this evening? In a lot of cases it works out. But once the request is accepted, you have that direct connection with the provider. And that allows you and the provider to facilitate the business directly. And we don't necessarily get in the way of that, but we do have the trail in order to go back and see if something went wrong.
So you are not in the middle of it. I can have direct communication with the provider.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And is all of that through the app?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All that's through the app. And it's all by design because of how the nature of the consumer and the provider relationship is. It's similar to like a barber. If you find a good barber, you want to go to the same person. You're not going to go randomly shopping for barbers, and get different results. Yeah. You want that same consistency. You want to know, like, all right, I'm looking my best day. And so it's the same thing in terms of hiring a home professional, because you want to make sure that your most valuable asset is, not being disrespected, and, you have somebody who actually knows what they're doing. And because, in construction, you can be, fresh off the AA wagon, and, you can be working the next day. It's like, there's no authority currently for other options where somebody who knows what's going on is actually making sure that the standard is kept. And so with our whole process, it's designed to be that for the consumer, but also a very simple process in order to communicate and cut through all the nonsense. And it's a direct hire. So there's no price shopping. There's no kind of guesswork. It's like it mainlines the whole thing. So once you request, boom, it's booked.
Yeah. The magic words, direct hire. I like that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I'll actually give you a link too. I have a video that I had created. It's a short video, and it explains kind of our whole app in a nutshell. And it's a hand-drawn video. It's like a whiteboard video, but it's really good put together, and it gives you a lot of information in a very small amount of time.
I'll make sure that my followers get that. Okay. After I put this video up, can people ask you questions in the comment section of the video, and then you just go to the video and actually answer them yourself?
Yeah, I can. And also, if customers or even potential customers are interested, they can contact me direct if they want to. I typically answer most of the emails that come through the system. We have a 1-800 number. I won't put that out here, but if somebody wants to have a one-on-one conversation, I'll shoot them an email with the 1-800 number, and we can hash it out. But yeah, I welcome all questions all the time. I mean, I think that's what's missing mostly in business now, is that you can't get a human on the phone, and you can't you can't get answers because everybody's so consumed with getting your money and not necessarily building a relationship. And and our process is about long-term, transaction, and we want to make sure that, we have that good working, lasting relationship. So
I like that. I like that. Well, Jesse Landry from Handiworks, thank you for joining me today.
all right.
And it's brilliant. I mean, I just keep thinking of the work that I have. I'm too old to be climbing ladders now. I mean, I have some work that I have to do that's 30 feet high, and I'm not getting on a ladder. So I'll be downloading that app soon.
All right, sounds good, man. Yeah, we'll bring the tools anytime you're ready.
Cool. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, all right, man. Well, you have a good one.